Welcome to Hangouts on Air with Dejan SEO. This week we've got Edmund Pelgen, Australian online marketer who deserves your attention. Keep an eye on this guy, everyone, because he had a presentation at SMX that really rocked. I was a moderator for this session and I really enjoyed his content. So what I'd like to do is introduce Edmund and hand over to him and have him tell us a little bit about himself and a little bit about his presentation and the content that he has for us today.
All right, thanks, Dan. Am I up now?
Yes, you are.
Awesome. So I guess what's the background? I guess for the last 4 years I've been head of search and content for an agency, a digital agency that I was a part co-founder of, and typically worked with the bigger end of town, the medium to larger type organisations, and we went through that whole period as all of us did when there was a lot of change and a lot of flux in the marketplace in 2011, 2012, and the net result of that was this sudden uptick in content marketing. Clients, I mean, all the press, you know it, everyone was talking about it, and the challenge that I was going through at the time was trying to understand, well, I get the interest, I understand why everyone's talking about it, but in the rush to do content marketing, there was a ton of activity that I felt was, it just didn't make sense. I mean, the reality was customers are coming to us saying, we need to do content marketing, when in reality they wanted traditional link building. And the old ways are gone now, and they think, or they thought, that the safe way to do it is content marketing. But there's this disconnect between people saying, do content marketing and you'll get links, because a lot of what people ended up doing was just inane, generic, crap blogging, publishing absolute rubbish without any strategy, without any forethought to it. And there are a whole range of people who were considered leading content marketers at the time, and I looked at what they were doing, and they didn't talk about links, they didn't talk about the traditional stuff that we as SEOs would talk about. And so it frustrated me, because in my head I had the link building stuff on one side, the traditional technical SEO on the other side, and this an audience of people who are already creating fabulous content, right? We have awesome bloggers out there, but they never really talked about links. And so I put together this framework when I left the agency. I mulled around and looked at a lot of people and tried to examine what they were doing and why they were doing it. And this framework is my attempt to tie together all of those pieces, so that if you, as an agency or someone providing digital marketing, or even as an internal person running content marketing for your organisation, if you're going to do something, you need to be able to say why and how it's benefiting you. So that's what this framework does. And so by using the framework, you can help develop a strategy, you can sell it internally, you can demonstrate how it's going to benefit the business, and that's primarily where it all came from.
Yeah, I think people agree with you in the room. Mark was just commenting on a side. He said, "So spot on, Edmund." And I think partly the reason we recreated this link building hangout series is just to make it clear that what people call content marketing today, a lot of people what they call content marketing is really just link building with a new name. And there's different ways of doing it, but some people are just saying, oh, it's content marketing now, but what they really are doing and want to do is really link building. And it's true.
That's right.
Links do help people's pages rank, right? Google is a link-based search engine, and getting awesome links makes sense. But let's be honest about it, it's link building, it's not content marketing. Content marketing has multiple purposes and different modes, and I think this is why it's so great to have somebody who's given it a lot of thought. And you can see that your infographic, your article, your slideshow, everything shows a great deal of thought that's gone into the process. So I'd love to see the actual presentation, if you wouldn't mind sharing a couple of your slides with us.
Sure. So what I'll do now is Dan, you got to make sure that I do this correctly. I'll pull up the deck. 1 second. Can you see that?
It's coming up.
So can you see the first slide?
Yeah, we can see the first slide fine.
All right. So what I'll do is I'll run through the slide deck, and if anyone's got any questions, we'll go from there. So the background was I've been all of these things. I've been an accountant, I've been a sales guy, all these sorts of things, and most recently on online marketing. So the big thing for me was why anyone should care about this presentation. And if you consider the audience of people that I was talking to at SMX, marketers, agency types, internal marketing people, that was the audience that I was speaking to. So what I did was I went through exactly what I was talking about in relation to the framework. Firstly, I said why you needed the framework. I then presented the framework, and then I talked about my personal thoughts on how they could implement the framework. And this slide is the one that just always gets me. It's why the sudden interest in content marketing. And Dan, as we talked about, if you look at this slide here, the growth in content marketing is driven primarily by the occurrence of Panda and Penguin, and everyone suddenly thinking that content marketing is the new link building. I mean, ultimately, how many clients have you had? I've had a client recently who asked me to help look at their business, and I said, well, we're going to have to do some link building, and they said, no, I don't want to do that link building, that's dangerous. I want to do some of this content marketing. And it was this split, the schism of what people's perceptions were that really frustrated me. So if you look at the definition of content marketing, the formal definition, and I go back to, you know, the godfather of content marketing is a guy called Joe Pulizzi. Everyone knows Joe, and this definition came from his book. It's the process of creating and distributing valuable and compelling content to attract, acquire, and engage a target audience. And the objective at the end of the day is...
Sorry, one sec, Edmund. I think we're having a bit of a broadcast issue. Do you mind just unsharing your screen and sharing it again? Because what people are seeing is a blank screen. Can you guys see it now?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, I can see it now as well. It's just switching between black and yeah. So maybe just switch it on again. Yeah.
Also, in the camera manager, I think Ashley is jammed on. I see only Ashley. Not that there's anything wrong with seeing Ashley, but I'd rather see the slide deck.
Can you guys actually see the slideshow on the main screen?
I only see it in the film strip.
In the film strip, Mark can see it.
I'm sorry. Look, I figured it out. The cause is, well, it's only because I'm an idiot. No, it's okay. I'll double-check Edmund right now.
Okay, no worries. There's a robotic sound coming from Edmund's machine, but it does that from time to time. Just bear with it. All right. On to you. Back to you, Edmund. Please resume.
So, can you hear me? Can you see the deck now, Dan?
Yes, we can.
All right. So, let's see. Okay. So, right. I've lost my train of thought. No. So, Joe Pulizzi, he says this is his definition according to his book, right? And then there was a recent article that was published where these experts talked about the benefits of content marketing, and I scraped together all the copy. I dropped it into this Word chart, and if you look at it, there's very little mention of link building, right? They talk about customers, benefits, audience, all these things, right, that the traditional content marketers talk about, but there's no link building in this. And the reality is, for all of us, the usage of the word content marketing, it's more than just a link building strategy. And the trouble is, when we as agency people or providers of these marketing services, if we try to sell a service and we call it content marketing and we can't explain, right, why or how it's going to benefit them, then you really do them a disservice, right? If I can't tell you why you need to produce something, what you need to produce and how to produce it and how it's going to benefit you, then I'm doing... Here's my slide for it. I'm doing the client a disservice. So, the first thing, the reason...
Technical issue. We've had Venchito join in, but I just muted his microphone. Feel free to unmute yourself, mate, after Edmund's presentation. All right, let's go.
All right, so the next slide I did was why they needed the framework, and so I went through a series of slides that talked about it. So Avnish talks about a framework being useful to help people to think rather than giving them a fish, right? So the purpose of this framework was exactly that, to help people think about what they were doing and how they were marketing and how they were selling it. The first reason why you need a framework is it helps you choose the right approach to content marketing. The second reason you need it is it helps you explain why. You can explain to a client or internally why you've decided to go with a specific content marketing approach. The next reason you need the framework is it helps you figure out how to implement that strategy. And I think one of the most important reasons is it helps you choose the success metrics around that strategy and that content. The challenge is, and you'll see when I come to the three types of content I'm talking about, is that each of these pieces has a different success metric, and you need to measure them differently. And there's you'll get an issue with a client when they're expecting a certain result and they're measuring you based on link acquisition or rankings, when the reality is you might be creating content that's all about building authority and helping conversions. The fifth reason is the framework will help you sell it. We've talked about this before. It helps you clarify and explain to a customer why you're doing what you're doing, as well as internally, and it helps you manage the expectations. So if I'm telling a client that this type of content is not going to make an overnight difference to this or that, then they'll understand it and they'll have their expectations managed. And the reality is having the framework will help you deliver the right results and make a difference, as opposed to just selling them crappy blog content that does nothing for the business. So I'm going to move on now to the actual framework itself. And every time I have the discussion with someone, I use this framework and I look at what they're doing and I drop it into these little buckets. And when I talk about what I'm proposing to them, I put it into these buckets as well, and it helps me make sure that I don't sell what they don't need. Because the reality is people are going to be at different stages with their businesses, that some may need something that's going to help them get link attraction, and some may need something that will help them build authority in their industry. So you don't sell them what you don't need. And the reality is, the big thing in this space is don't get hung up on semantics, because some people are going to come at this as inbound marketers, content marketers, link builders. The big corporate types will talk about branded and earned content. It's all semantics, right? At the end of the day, it's just a framework that you can use. If it helps you, then great. If not, and you've got a different approach to it, then that's fine. So now I'm going to jump into the framework itself. So what I do is when I talk about content to a client, or a client wants to talk about it with me,
Edmund, sorry, just a quick question. Are we still seeing the Red Bull stuntman? Is that what we're supposed to be seeing?
No.
Okay.
All right.
Let's refresh that screen share. And see have you got two screens? All right, little robots finished talking. We can continue now. All right. So try sharing your screen again, because we were just looking at the Red Bull scene.
All right. Better try to find that presentation again. One sec. Here we go.
Yeah, William Rock approves of your little robot speak.
All right, so the right slide now. Dan, I'm going to share the slide again. Give me 1 second. Here we go. All right, so can you see that slide now, Dan? The three circles?
No, we see just black screen. Try sharing the whole screen rather than just an application. That might actually help. What I was going to say is that one thing that you've mentioned earlier, and that was in fact managing people's expectation, is super important. I think we're facing that daily. You know, people coming to us and they're from different businesses, different types, different sizes. Some people could benefit from one type of activity, some people could benefit from the other type of activity. For example, brand building versus, you know, pure content marketing versus traditional link building, etc. So I think that's yeah, super important.
Absolutely. Now, Dan, yeah. Can you see that slide now?
No, it's just showing up as black. But what I did, I've actually shared your slide deck with everyone in the event page, so people can actually flip through your slides. You can just unshare your screen and just go with your normal camera.
With the 3 circles on it?
Yep. It's just that your robot was talking again just before.
Sorry about that. All right. Okay, so if everyone's looking at the slide, and I'll speak to this then, Dan. The reality is, when I talk to someone, there are 3 types of content. Everything should go into these 3 buckets, right? You've got link attraction content, and the sole purpose of creating a piece of link attraction content is something that you can promote to get links. The links are going to build your domain authority. They'll help the site rank and do all those good things that links do. The next type of content that you want to be pitching is conversion content. And conversion content is all that content that is designed to help convince someone that you're the person that they need to be doing business with, right? HubSpot is great at this. The traditional B2B marketers are great at this. Marketers, they understand that, you know, there's a process of awareness, evaluation, and purchase that people go through. So conversion content is all about just moving your customer along that path. I don't expect it to build links, not necessarily. It might, but it's not the primary purpose of it, right? And then the third type of content is trust and influence, or what I'm calling authority content, right? It's where you want to build a position in an industry, become known as the industry expert, all those things. And there's a whole range of benefits that will accrue around that. And I'm talking things like podcasts, free content communities that you build, that sort of stuff. So those are the 3 buckets. It's link attraction content, conversion content, and authority content. So the link attraction content, you know, I'm going to work off my infographic. If you get a chance to have a look at the infographic that I put out on my site, it clarifies this in real neat detail. So link attraction content is all about attracting links, right? And it's typically something that you'll build that's got long-term applicability. And the four key things that I say is, if you're going to build link attraction content, you got to make it fail-proof. And John Cooper from Point Blank SEO, this is his concept, this fail-proof concept. It's about building a piece of content that you know people have already linked to in the past. And if you Google fail-proof content, you'll see the blog post. He's got a podcast that talks about it. And basically, it just means you build a piece of content that you can look at and see other people who've linked to it. So you've immediately got an outreach list. You know that it's promotable because people have linked to it in the past. And it's the piece of content that you build for links. It's that simple. The other aspect of link attraction content is, if you can build it as a reference, give it what I would call innate citability, make it a resource, make it the industry guide, that's going to give it a much more impact. Jason Asidre has this concept called Evergreen Content. So the other aspect to link attraction content to make it successful is make it evergreen, make it have long-term applicability. And the other issue is, with all this link attraction content, is the reality is you'll get the best benefit from aggressive promotion, right? If you put it out there and you do the standard social tweeting, it's going to get some visibility, but the reality is you need to be active on email, reaching out to people and giving them a reason to link to this piece of content. Who's a great example of this? Brian Dean, his blog Backlinko. If you look at some of the strategies that he's talking about, it's all about understanding people, connecting with people, and promoting the content. That's the critical aspect to it. Shall I continue, Dan?
Absolutely. People are loving it so far. I've got some really good comments in the chat.
All right. So the next bucket. I mean, there are a ton of good examples of link attraction content. If you look at the slideshow that I put out, I've linked to a couple of those. Now, the next bucket is conversion content, and conversion content is really critical. If you own any sort of B2B business, you know you need the content that people, you need content that helps people choose you, right? It convinces them that you're the #1 person they've got to be doing business with. And the reason conversion content works well is, #1, it demonstrates that you as a business owner understand the customer's pain, right? You understand their pain. Second thing, it allows you to demonstrate that you've solved the problem in the past. classical examples, case studies, things like that, demonstrated that you've solved the problem in the past. And the other aspect to conversion content is that it gives you an opportunity to demonstrate that your solution is better than the alternative, than the competitor's content. And I defer back to HubSpot. They have a great model. It's a 3-circle model. You'll see it in my slide. It's the buyer journey. They have a very simple version of it, which is 3 stages: awareness, evaluation, and purchase. And so as people discover your brand, they'll discover it through content like white papers, ebooks, tip sheets, checklists, the educational webinars that they run. They've been made aware of you, and then they go through that process of evaluation. So the content that you need to create at this point is actual product webinars. Case studies are wonderful demonstrations, FAQs, demo videos, and then at some point they're going to make a decision as to purchase, and then they need content that helps them through that point in time. So that's the idea of conversion content. I don't expect conversion content to get links. The reality is it's not what it's for. It's designed to move people along that path and then ultimately do business with me. And in the presentation I talked about the ways that you could measure the performance of conversion content. I don't know if I mentioned, with link attraction content, it's all about the links, right? How many links you can get to that piece of content. With conversion content, it's how many people are downloading your PDFs, your FAQs, how many people are signing up to your trials, how many demos are you getting booked, how many consultations are coming through, how many quotes are people asking for, how many people are participating in the educational webinars that you run. All of that stuff is metrics around just making sure that it's doing its job. I mean, there's a ton of classic examples. I think I've talked about them. I think I have to mention that one of the key people who influenced me in this area is Marcus Sheridan from the sales line. I mean, everyone knows Marcus Sheridan. He's a very passionate marketer, and he's been blogging for years, and he's the pool guy, right? He's the guy that wrote the blog post about how much does the pool cost, what's the best, is it fiberglass, is it cement, blah, blah, blah. And he literally generated a ton of traffic. People probably link to that content, but I would suggest the reality is, and Marcus would probably agree, is that that content demonstrated his willingness to share the information, to answer the customer's questions, to talk about price, which no one else was doing, and in doing so was great conversion content, and that's why people probably chose to buy his pool versus someone else's pool. And HubSpot, from a corporate perspective, is a great example of that B2B conversion type content that they do.
Edmund, just a short interruption. What slide are we on your slide deck? Slide 30, I'm guessing?
I'm actually up to, I've just moved up to slide 45. I'm about to talk about the trust and influence.
Slide 45, okay. Just for everyone else who's monitoring outside the Hangout, just to let them know. All right, slide 45.
Sorry. So the last bucket of content is trust and influence. And I would suggest that, Dan, if you look at the content that you've been creating on your blog, if you look at the content that Rand Fishkin and Moz have been creating, yes, there's a bunch of great link bait pieces as well, but I think the majority of the content that you create is all about trust and influence, right? You're building a community of people who know, like, and trust you, right? If I know you, I like the content that you share, and the information that you share is helpful and it's given willingly, I'm going to let you influence my decision about whether I buy your services, whether I take your recommendations about products and things like that. So trust and influence, or what I call authority content, is designed to do that. And, you know, in the slide deck I talk about trust being the belief in the reliability, truth, or ability of someone, right? Someone to do something. And the way that I think Michael Hyatt talks about, you know, building trust, it's giving information away freely, being completely transparent about who you are and what you're doing, always telling the truth, keeping your word. If you say you're going to do something online, make sure you do it. And by doing that, you have the ability to influence people's ideas and the actions that they take. In the slide deck, I did reference a book by Robert Cialdini called Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion. It's a good book to read about trust and influence, but I won't go into too much detail here. If everyone here is a marketer, they've probably read the book already. Dan, I'm going to move up to and influence. So I'll give you an example of who does trust, influence, and authority building content well. SEO Moz. If you're looking for a corporate entity that does it really well, Red Bull builds trust and authority through their content. Food Matters is an Australian success story. It's a foodmatters.tv. It's a blog about. Dan, can you hear me there?
Yeah, we've got somebody who's just joined in. I think we've got a little bit of microphone coming through. That
All right. So,
I'm not sure who it is actually. Yeah, but if you guys can mute your microphones just for a sec. Yep, it sounds much better now. All right. So what slide are we on now?
So the content of the presentation kind of winds up from here, and I guess I can continue the discussion using that's the guts of it. I mean, this is the premise. It's not I've not developed something that's complex or rocket science, right? This is just something to help me and other marketers just put the activities into specific buckets. So I'll see if I can share the infographic because it just simplifies it. Just one sec, Dan. Hello?
Yeah, we can hear now. That was just a little bit of a robot issue again.
So, I apologize. So, I mean, and I stated in my post in the infographic, I'm not trying to create or make this more complicated than it needs to be. This is the reality of it. If I'm talking content, it's like, do I want links? I look at the customer and I think, do they need links? If they don't have any links at all, the site is new, it needs authority, and it's a competitive space, then we're going to need to build link attraction content and promote it. Whereas some sites, they have the, I'll get an enterprise client who is a massive business, they've got links out the wazoo, they're trusted, they are the solution to everyone's problems, but they're having trouble with conversion. And it may very well be that they need content that helps convince people that they should do business with them. And then other businesses where there may be an individual, say such as yourself, or in a space like SEO, well, how do you get visibility? How do you cut through the clutter? Well, then you need to build some sort of authority around yourself, and you need to do those content creation activities that will give you authority, build trust, and positioning. And you look at yourself as an example, Dan. Look at the work that you've put into your blog, the Hangouts. All of that builds trust. It builds authority in the industry. And yes, it probably gets links, but I would suggest that it's not the primary reason you actually created that content. Correct?
I have to interject here and point out one very interesting thing, and I get told this all the time. Me being the face of a particular SEO company, I'm active in the industry, I'm putting a lot of energy and effort into it. The main question that I get asked is, well, can you repeat the same thing for your clients?
Good call.
Because not every single one of your clients is willing to go and speak at conferences. They're not willing to write. They're not willing to become a persona in the industry. And to be fair, like if you're a local plumber in Sydney, do you really need to be an active blogger? Just because Google is driven towards fame, popularity, and links, does that mean that a local plumber should go around content marketing? In all honesty, I feel Google should find different metrics to rank local businesses, for example, quality of their work, but they don't have any means of telling that. How can they tell? So talking about giving an SEO company as an example of somebody who's built brand and authority and trust is a little bit meta in my opinion, because it's kind of like self-recurring thing, because we're good at doing it, but the main challenge that I'm facing is how do we repeat this with our clients? So I think one thing that you mentioned in the initial stage of your presentation was managing expectations. So choosing, pre-qualifying what's actually realistic for this company to achieve. Can we leverage the CEO of this company? CEO doesn't want to be involved as an author of anything. Okay, fine, that's out of the game. What else have we got to leverage? So I think if we could take a normal business, let's say who here runs a normal business? Trey Collier runs a normal business here. He's not an SEO agency. I would imagine he would have some unique challenges day to day in getting links. Trey, would you mind sharing some of your experience? How do you get website popularity up? How do you get branding happening? How do you get links?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, that's an interesting challenge because I'm the little guy competing with some really big folks out there in our area, and I guess one of the things we do all the time is we sit there and talk about issues that customers bring up to us over and over and over, and we try to make a blog post about it, and then we'll try to social media share. And that's pretty much about all I can do at this point. I've got a few things I've got working, one of which is making sure that the website is fully search engine, fully mobile friendly. And then I'm going to add on to that where people can rate the product, and then people can discuss things about the product. Two separate things. One is product ratings, how they felt about it, and of course the other one would be questions and answers, like Q&A about the product. They could ask the questions right then and there, and we can respond to it, and that becomes new individualized content for that particular product, even though that product is sold on 300 other websites competing.
I mean, my guys keep giving me an example. Like, all right, Dan, it's you write all these blog posts and you go into Hangouts, but tell us, how do we get a local plumber going? Right, that's a challenge. So we had a question from William, who just wanted to know about your actual business. What is it that you actually do? Where was that? Was that question answered? No, it doesn't. Oh, it was from Mark. It was from Mark. So Mark, jump in. Ask a question.
Oh God, I got so many questions. I was just asking what Trey does with his business. What kind of business is it? What industry are you in?
I'm in the e-commerce business. Industry is products for your backyard, swimming pool supplies, that type of stuff.
All right. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty competitive. All right. I've got another question for Edmund. Yeah. Sure. Edmund, you mentioned that you had to set expectations right with your clients. The ones who come in saying, we want content marketing, right? So have you ever had, say, smaller clients who've come in and wanted content marketing, and you set the expectations right, but all the competitors in the small space, they're doing link building, flat out link building, and how do you get this across to your clients where you might be doing content marketing for them for a few months and they still can't get enough link bait happening to beat the boys who are cheating?
Yeah,
so you ever come across that situation?
Absolutely. I just had the exact same situation. I had a client come to me, and they have a very strong brand, a good authoritative brand. They had a little bit of history with some messy link building, which was causing some issues. So we fixed a bunch of those technical issues, and they wanted to do it a safe way to leverage their authority and to try to build links. And so I was working with a link builder and content creator to create and try to optimize some of their content and create some content assets that we could promote for links. They also had a new business, and it was leveraging their current business to try to promote the new site. It started working. We started getting steady, small numbers of links, moving very slowly. But and this is the challenge. I said to them, this is going to take at least 6 months to have a real any major impact, and you will avoid the penalties and the issues that you've had in the past. 3 months into the campaign, this is moving too slow, and I had the comment back, hey, can we have a look at some of these paid link options? And it was like, shit, did we not have this discussion? It's a tough. I don't have a solution for you. It is a tough one, and the link. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the link attraction content's easy either. I mean, there are specialists out there like John Cooper and guys like that who do this for their bread and butter, and they will tell you it's tough work. But yeah, it's tough. You can tell a client this, and the reality is business imperatives will always drive them to say, we need a faster solution, and inevitably they'll make a bad call and choose a short-term option. And look, I know run e-commerce businesses that I've managed to push to the top with less than quality link building and then seen them penalized. So, you know, the money's great, but it's you've got to, I guess, try to get them to understand what's the long-term game here. But I don't have an answer for you, except that you do your best to tell them what the alternatives are, and do your best to do, you know, what you can. But like I said, when we were very specific in that situation, I said what you need here is link attraction content. So they already had a blog going; it was doing quite good, but what they really needed was link attraction content. So we worked on developing that content and trying to promote it. But yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, I've been struggling with this issue for quite a while because the link attraction stuff is never fast enough, right?
It's never fast.
The bigger the budget, the better type of content we can create. But at the same time, the competitors in that space have a much bigger budget as well, and they're blasting away. And the frustrating thing is that Google hasn't spotted their spam links, right? So yeah, it's actually rewarding these guys. And good content can never keep up unless it goes viral. And, you know, let's face the facts. You're not going to get viral content on every try. So
no, that's right.
It's very frustrating. I think for now, maybe, you know, I was just thinking the balance would be between a bit of link building and a little bit of, you know, real content marketing, right, mixed in. And that's the perfect balance for now, for where Google is.
Yeah.
You know,
and I think as SEOs, we need to sort of step out of this box of SEO and position ourselves as marketers, because the reality is I see other businesses that build massive audiences, they build great followings using, you know, new social media stuff and completely different strategies whilst building the SEO in the background. And so there are a ton of ways that you can help the business to build the audience, to get them onto their email list, to monetize them, to help them make sales that aren't just reliant on SEO per se. And, you know, I call myself an SEO, but the reality is I have to be a broader marketer, and so I need to get better at building audience, capturing that audience, monetizing the audience, improving conversion, because the reality is this SEO stuff is going to take time. And I've been in a situation where I've had this one magic stream of page one rankings, and it's a terrible drug to get addicted to. You know?
Yeah, I agree. William, you had a few examples you wanted to share with us in terms of marketing and what I refer to as a normal business.
Are you talking about the plumber I put in the comments? Yeah, are you talking about the comments about the plumber?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a local plumber that actually has 2 states, but what I was saying was, you know, he got affected by some of the rankings recently with the local rank issue because he works out of his house, but he's been in business for 12 years as a plumber, and he's got an employee in a different state. And long story short, they were also hit by a marketing company with a bunch of you know, comment spam, bad linking strategies, so on and so forth. So we got still a lot of cleanup to do. They were hit, I believe, by both Penguin and Panda. They came to me and basically said, "I need some help. You guys, you know, you came good referral or by a good referral." And then it took us about, I want to say about 6 months to really help him. But he got out of his penalty within 3 months and started gaining his rankings back. But those were just simple things that we were doing. One, we were taking away the bad links and the comment spam, and some of it we still haven't been able to remove. I don't actually use the Google tool that, you know, you can put. I'm blanking right now, but where you can put all your links in there and basically disavow tool. Sorry, guys. I just don't use it. That's why I guess I don't remember those little things. But I just don't think that there's a reason for it. You've got to clean up your mess and then also fix it at the same time. And how I used that in the examples I've got in the comments was, you know, how do you make a plumber actually get those type of referrals or people talking about them either on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, wherever. And what we've started to do is actually build helpful tips and tricks. What can you do at home without a plumber? What can you do, like, for example, fixing a toilet? Pretty simple to do, but half of them are all kind of like, when you get to opening that toilet, you have no idea what the heck you're doing. We're computer geeks. I mean, we hire out those services, but it's a simple tactic that if you actually help others with simple techniques, when you have, you know, the bathroom that just flooded and all of a sudden it's down, you know, draining in your basement and everywhere else, you're going to call that guy that helped you out. And you're going to remember that because, oh, you know what, I'm at the hardware store and he said forget about that one seal, get this one instead. And those little things stick in your head, not only social, but you're engaged with that person. It's a one-to-one
So
relationship.
William, you said it took 6 months of work to get these.
To really start to take real serious ground where, you know, when we first started, there was nothing in Webmaster Tools. There was hardly any queries. He was destroyed.
So here's an interesting discussion question. How do you manage somebody's expectations, and how do you manage this client that's looking at their watch going, well, look, it's been 4 months, it's been 5 months, I'm not seeing anything, why do I keep paying you guys? That's a hard one.
It really takes a different type of client, and I've done this stuff since 1998. I've been doing web design, anything that I've done, marketing-wise, paid advertising, you name it, I've done it. But at the same time, as it goes back to, you know, what's the company doing? Is it something that you think that you can actually help? When I did a site review, I told them, I said, look, you got penalized. Here's where you're sitting. Here's what we need to go through and fix. I can't guarantee you're going to even come back out of this, but we're going to put a good effort into it and see what we're going to do. Since then, he won't let any other optimizer even come in without calling me first. Now,
it's a good thing to build trust with the client, but to get to that point before they drop off is something of a challenge. I'd like to hear from Rob if he's mic'd up. He's mentioned something about an idea for local Google businesses. Do you want to elaborate on that, Rob?
Yeah, that's fine. Sorry. Well, the whole Google for Business, it's getting better and better every month in the way it's handled by Google. It's still not optimal, but that should be the way for locals to be found through Google, because there's no way they can compete with a national or international operating company. So if they get their places, or Google for Business, or whatever it's called at the moment, if you optimize that page and get your referrals on that page, you should be found better and more easily by people who are actually looking for a local company. There is also no need for you to be found by somebody who isn't looking local if you're local, if you know what I'm trying to say. It's quite late here in the Netherlands. You should
really talk to Google and put some of your ideas to their engineering team. They might actually improve the quality of their results. I'm not sure what to say about doing. We haven't experienced Pigeon firsthand here in Australia. It's only affected the States, and perhaps is it only USA, or is it the rest of the world as well? I'm not really sure.
We haven't experienced anything here yet, I think.
Yeah, we've got the crappy old same results as well, but I think things will change very soon as soon as Pigeon's rolled out in Australia. I'm just hopeful. Either that or Penguin. Something's got to happen because the results are terrible. Now, I'd like to steer the discussion in a direction of link attraction. What is it? What are the qualities of a content, in your opinion, that actually drive links? What are the reasons people would be linking to something? I've personally spent some time thinking about this myself, and I have a few of my own ideas. I just wanted to hear from maybe Edmund first, and then the rest of you guys, what is it in your opinion that is the top link attraction tactic or a method or reason for the link to exist in the first place? What is it that you're seeing out there in the wild?
Yeah, I mean, it can be. It's the reality is lately I've been testing and trying new ideas with clients as well, and sometimes what you think is going to work. I mean, I say let's create this awesome resource and make it comprehensive, and sometimes it still doesn't work. And I think regardless of whatever tactic that you choose, it's going to be an iterative process. But I think there are some basics you can do, right? If you are going to create a piece of link attraction content that's for promotion, it has to be good, right? The reality is people, they can't go and spend $20 and expect an awesome piece of content, right? I mean, those days are gone. You have to either invest your time or the time of a good content creator or a specialist to create that. You wouldn't, if you imagine you had a retail shop and you wanted to create a display, you wouldn't half-ass the display and get some dodgy painter or anyone to put it together. So why would you do the same with your content? So quality has to be excellent. The other big issue now, design is critical. It's just got to look good. Everyone has much higher expectations now, and the graphical tools are available. I mean, that infographic you saw, I threw that up with picked a chart, but there are a ton of other tools that will allow you to make quality designs. People are leveraging interactivity to try to make it different and unique. And it's just if I boil it down to a simple thing, is you just can't half-ass it. It has to be the best possible quality, and that means design, that means content, that means the focus. Does that make sense? But at the end of the day, you still need to promote that stuff, and you need to reach out and get people to link to it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. But let me play devil's advocate here. I've seen a lot of great content. Great makeup, great substance, it's all fantastic, but the guys tweeted it and it's got like 2 retweets and a couple of pluses. It's just not happening.
Yeah, I mean, are you just talking about good visual content?
I mean, good quality of content plus good visual content, everything is set up, but the person just doesn't have the weight and authority. There's no brand. So I personally see brand as a lubricator for the rest of the process, because what can happen is you could create the greatest piece of content. If you're nobody, it's just not going to be shared. But if you're Danny Sullivan, you can take a crappy picture with your phone of a sunset, and you'll get like 100 pluses on that, right? So there's an element of persistence and longevity in your activities. You're going to be familiar with people. You're going to keep pushing, and that's we're circling back to the patience issue, right? Patience and trust between agency and the client, or the client itself and their own practices, right? So you just have to persist. I think is a huge element. But I'll share what I see as main reasons for the existence of links on the web, and I list them in 8 categories. So I'm just going to read it out as I have it written down. First one is attribution. Then I've got citation, definition, expansion, identification, example, action, or relationship. So basically, attribution is when somebody credits the original author for using their content. Reference is quoting a statement from another author. Definition is linking to a page which really defines a concept. Expansion provides a path to an in-depth resource, so you don't have to talk about something to clutter your own meaning. Identification is disclosure of contextual relevant entities. So that's typically when people link to your brand or your name, or other type of entity, a product name. Example is just practical illustration of discussed entities and ideas within the content. And we've got action, inviting users to perform an activity. Subscribe, go here, download, some sort of functional performance. So then you've got relationship links, finally, which are sort of, these are our partners, these are our customers. So you're actually linking to somebody because there's a meaningful relationship between these. And these 8 categories are how I see links structured on a web naturally. So I've actually observed how people link to our content and our brand and how things happen. And what I actually discovered during my research, we did this on a larger scale, is that people link to others for commercial reasons. And Google seems to ignore this fact in their algorithms. They're thinking, it's a commercial endorsement, so it should be a no-follow. I personally disagree with that. If I want to commercially promote you, Edmund, for example, and I'm linking to you, and I put online marketer in anchor text, that's going to harm you because it's going to be seen as a commercial anchor text. But in fact, what I've discovered is that people link to each other for commercial reasons, and that's one blind spot for Google, or something that they've been purposely ignoring. So unfortunately, we can't utilize this. But I think the other 7 methods, the non-commercial ones, like attribution, citation, definition, and that sort of stuff, seems to be quite prevalent in the natural link profiles, and I think Google would love that sort of stuff. I think Jim has a comment to make, something to do with Tim Kappa. Jim, do you want to elaborate on that?
Right. I was talking with Tim Kappa in a hangout a few months ago, Dan, and he was describing what they did for Godiva chocolates in the UK. And look, forgive me if I've got the figure wrong, because it's mentioned in the clip that I put in the chat there. But I think they spent £50,000 to stage a reception in London's West End, and they invited every journalist, down to the Sheep Farmers Foot and Mouth Times, and every blogger, every person of influence online they could find, they invited to this reception. They had a good roll-up. And I think they had a guest, I'm not sure, but it's in that clip anyway. But then when the guests were leaving, they were given a goodie bag of Godiva chocolates. They got editorial and links from everywhere. It just went, absolutely brilliant. But it did cost £50,000, or if that was the sum, it might have been 40. Don't shoot me.
I think that's a reasonable sum of money, to be honest. If you're going to hold a whole bunch of media attention, £50,000 is a modest investment, because people pay $10,000 for an paid editorial in a big newspaper, and then just one. And if this is organic, are we talking organic endorsements, organic reviews and articles?
No, they got it all. They got stories, they got mentions. Because the goodie bag had almost every chocolate that Godiva makes, and Godiva, if you don't know, is a quality Belgian chocolate maker. Actually, one of the early participants on the web. They were around when Microsoft was version 1, but they've gone backwards since. But these days, particularly in London, they identified that they just weren't well known enough. And yes, who doesn't like talking about chocolate?
That's the thing. We're talking about a particular business that has something awesome, like Red Bull. They're doing all sorts of fun stuff with their brand. So they're aligning extreme stuff. GoPro is doing an awesome job at creating publicity. But what about ordinary stuff? What can Trey give out to journalists? I mean, how does he? He can show them his decks and pools and that sort of stuff. I mean, it's. I think the challenge here is, how do you find something of value within your business that you can leverage to attract to create media attention? That is a really hard challenge. We've got 3 minutes to go. Shall we put some heads together and get some creative ideas for trade that he can try out, just as a sort of a exercise. What could we do? Short of sending wine to everyone's door, which is something what a local supplier did to me, and we figured out that the whole suburb was like 50% Muslim, and I personally was a non-drinker, and we figured out that what they did was a silly stunt because they're leaving alcohol in front of people's houses, and teenagers can get hold of it, and children. So it was a bit of a silly tactic. But really, what can a regular e-commerce business, let's say in that sort of home and garden industry, what can we do? We've got like a few minutes to come up with anything. I mean, let's put Edmund on the spot. I mean, it's hard. It's hard. But what would you do if this was your time?
I mean, absolutely. If I was starting with a I guess what you would call a small business, a local business like that, I would, and given the resource constraints, I would do something around video. I would go to Marcus Sheridan's website, download the ebook. He's got all of these strategies. How do I create 100 pieces of content? Because at the end of the day, a local business, that conversion content, the videos on how to do stuff, how to clean stuff, how to fix this, how to install this, all of those videos, I think they convert customers as well as building the trust, that local trust that's really important. And I think people will find that sometimes a local business doesn't need a massive super link profile. You know, you do those videos. Classic example, you talked about cleaning a toilet. I used that in a speech lately. I said, show someone a video, show them exactly how to unblock their blocked toilet. And on a YouTube video, and I guarantee you they will call you rather than do it themselves. But the fact that you showed them how to do it, right? You gave them the information and you were helpful, will bring them to you. I think that's a start for any small business, is to pick off all those little things that you can create. Use your iPhone, create video-based content around that. Put it onto YouTube, put it on the site, blog it, share it, that sort of stuff. I mean, I think those simple ones, you have to take those wins before you can then move on to the other stuff. Now, that's my 2 cents worth anyway.
Good stuff, and I know Trey very well. I've actually worked on his website. I think the next level for him, he's got everything dialed in on his website, and he's working on responsive and everything else. Great product descriptions, great photos. Could be better, but you know, he doesn't have a local presence. It's pure e-commerce. But I've done the same thing with another backyard site, and what we did is we actually went out and found a local retailer that actually had the product. And then we actually just shot a video with it. Or we went out to an event where the griller was coming out and had all the showcase grills out there at a barbecue event. And then basically we just filmed him. He had a microphone on him and wireless mic and took care of it. And all of a sudden I taught him how to do video editing, and he did it all by himself. And I think, Trey, you can do the same thing.
Absolutely. Look, I mean, I'll say straight out, I did some video lately, you know, same thing, trying to build my positioning and authority, and I did some videos on YouTube using my iPhone. I'm fortunate that I live locally to a guy called Gideon Shalwick, who's an expert in video production, and he showed me a little app, and I did a bunch of videos on the iPhone, and not 2 weeks after I published it, a local guy from Brisbane saw my videos on YouTube, called me up and engaged me in an ongoing campaign for SEO. I mean, you know, it wasn't link building, but it built the trust and authority, and he said, I like what you said, it made sense, I got to see you, and he called me up. And, you know, for a local business, sometimes it's not all about the links, it's, you know.
And I did that with an attorney. I did the same thing with an attorney recently. We just basically did the same thing, and he got the same response from a client to basically say, hey, I saw you on the internet, I really like what you had to say, and I feel comfortable hiring you as my attorney. Done deal.
Absolutely.
Guys, we're actually out of time, but I'd like to just give Vincito a chance to speak. I think he may have his microphone muted, but he contributed some really good stuff in the event page. So unless he unmutes his microphone, I'll actually just read out his contribution. So he's saying, if you're looking for a link attraction idea for a plumbing website, check out reddit.com and then plumbing section. So he's already shared the link in the event page. I'll post it here in the chat as well. Now, I personally find Reddit a fascinating animal. I haven't figured it out, I don't know what makes Reddit stuff go to the front page, but I know when it does, it breaks your website. It's that much traffic that it sends through. Obviously, traffic is not always qualified, but I'm not going to say no to 2,000 visitors per second sort of traffic, right? Because it can bring a lot of good attention to your domain. So definitely Reddit, something to check out in terms of creative ideas. And another contribution he's made is make sure that the content you're publishing is something that people are interested to share and link to. A bit of an obvious statement. Do reverse engineer first and see your community's interests. Use tools like BuzzSumo, Reddit, category, broken link building, identifying 4 or 4 pages, placing them on archive.org, and see if they can publish similar content. I think Venchito is scratching the surface of the iceberg here. I think we could probably make a whole new hangout out of those link building tactics.
Have a look at Venchito's blog. I work with Venchito, and he's got a really good blog and a good link building mind. So he's got some good content on his blog.
Absolutely, somebody else to keep an eye on in addition to Edmund. All right, that's all the time we have for today. We'll see you all next week. I'd like to thank Edmund for joining us in and presenting on this awesome topic. I'd like to thank everyone in the Hangout and those who are watching us live on YouTube, and see you all next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Dan.